Alright everyone, so welcome to the first ever Elite Vortex, and I beat this thing first try. It was a very interesting one. I learned a lot of things for it. So let's talk about everything that happened in this run and my thought process behind it. So I started to rush the action figure. So this action figure is very interesting because obviously the more time it spends on the map, the more money it makes for you. But at the same time, there's this thing where the return on your investment is so big that it's just not a good idea. I don't think to keep it for that long either. But I'm not sure. Like someone needs to do the maths on this. But basically, what I did is I just started with Geraldo, or Jerry, I call him. So I started with Jerry and the free Dark Monkey, and then I just rushed the action figurine, which I'm going to sell in a few rounds actually, because I think the investment 4x in like 12 rounds or something like that. So that's just crazy amount of money, and I thought that was a good time to sell. But again, I'm trying to compensate for Ben because there's this lack of money generating, right? But Geraldo is not too bad himself. But then again, you can still feel it because you still don't have Ben, and that is kind of my thought process behind it. That I wanted to kind of get rid of the action figure as soon as possible so that I can invest the money into the farms, and that's exactly what I did. So this defense is going to be Geraldo and the free Dark Monkey, and then I just went into the farm, so pretty standard stuff. And I did not actually buy these turrets. And the reason why I didn't buy these turrets is because when I was playing the normal one, I actually bought them there, and I didn't think that they were a good investment. Honestly, I don't think that the what do you call them, the level 1 quote unquote turrets are good, and there's no need to buff them and spend money on them. I guess they can be good in some situations, but I think that for things like these or for games like these, boss balloons, I think just the standard defense of like a 0-3-0 druid and then like a dark monkey, which you guys are gonna see, it works just fine. There is no need to spend additional money. So what's happening here is I'm just getting the 200 farms. The farming is gonna be kind of meh. I could have done better, but at the same time it was kind of new, and I spent a lot of money on defending it. There we go. I just sold my action figure for about six and a half thousand, I think it was. And I remember just bought a farm, 203 farm, and then just going for more 203 farms under a discount village. So this is pretty standard stuff. Nothing new, nothing interesting happening at this point. Well, not at least not until the boss comes, which is going to be very interesting. And we're going to talk about different strategies for different tiers. Obviously, this is going to keep evolving, but I think and as you guys know, long range towers are key, and not only long range towers, but placements away from the center of the map and from the track. So that's going to be very, very important. So at this point, as you can see there, I opened the shop and I thought, is it a good idea to buy this temporary camo detection, or just to buy a permanent one to the Dark Monkey and give it to the Dark Monkey? And I decided to buy the 023 dart actually, instead of just spending $200. And so what happens with this thing is, if you give that camo detection potion to Geraldo and you have turrets on the field, and the turrets are also going to be able to see camo, but because I didn't have any turrets, I don't think that's a good idea, and this kind of goes as a long-term investment. And later on, it's not later on actually, it already happened. I used the sharpening stone on this Dark Monkey, and you can see that this defense is going to be very strong, even in the 50s. That's crazy. So what I'm doing here is I'm buying 320 farms. These guys are going to be 420 for the Minneapolis, and then these 4203s are ready to get sold if needed. So obviously a Buccaneer at the top to sell in its range, and then the tower that I decided to defend with was a sniper, a 205 sniper, so the elite defender. And this is amazing, I can tell you that. So you just leave this guy on strong. Maybe actually you should have him more first, because what Vortex does, as you guys can see, is every balloon gets sped up to insane speeds. I want to say like 500% speed until it reaches the boss. And then they just start moving normally. So I had to micro the sniper there. I had to move it on first. And after this point, I left my sniper on first. And, whether it's strong or first, it doesn't really matter. And here's where the droids are also very important, right? Because the thorns don't really care how fast the balloons are. They're just going to pop the balloon, and, they're going to leave the vines on the track. And so this is the elite defender. It completely shreds the tier 1 elite Vortex. It's not even close. But then again, it's a lot of money spent too. So that is a very expensive tier 1 defense. And I was thinking about alternate ways of doing this. So I was thinking something like a something like a 204 sniper, and then you buff it with Geraldo, you give it an alchemist under a village, stuff like that. Maybe you put in like a 410 iStar. I'm not sure how cheaper that is. I actually, now that you think about it, but maybe there are a lot cheaper ways to deal with it. But I kind of knew that this was gonna work from playing the normal one, and this is basically what I decided to go with. So this is pretty standard stuff that's happening right now. I got the Minneapolis. I'm going for 420 farms, and this is kind of this very strong defense where the sharpening stone, which gives +1 damage, I'm pretty sure, but not sure how much pierce it gives. And I'm just defending with a 030 druid. This is a 024 dart monkey. They're under a jungle drums village, and I have a 014 buccaneer, and that is basically it. Geraldo is not the right clicker or the auto attacker, right? You would expect. So this is basically what's happening, pretty standard stuff in regards to the farming. But then when we get to it, actually, when we get to the tier 3, it's going to be very interesting because things are going to get very close, and that goes for the last one as well, for the tier 5. So that's going to be very interesting to kind of. I also want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Have you beaten this, and what are the strategies that you have found to work? Because it got really close to my end, and I think I know what we need to do, but more on that later. So this is tier 2. And we have the fertilizer, so keep using the fertilizer. It is a very, very important thing to use because it gives 25% basically on your farms, and this is a very effective strategy. So because these balloons are very fast up until they reach the boss, a very effective tower is the elite sniper, actually, because of the bouncing bullets. So when you get the elite, and even the 4th tier and the 3rd tier, you alchemize them, and it's an amazing tower. And also another tower that works apparently for all bosses currently in the game is the mat. So the mat is insane versus tier 2 Vortex. But the mistake that I did here is that I placed these things, and this is kind of because I've been playing the game. It's kind of hard to get out of these habits, right, of placing these towers around the track, around the middle of the track and stuff like that. And so that's kind of just being new to this boss. But definitely have to place these towers away from him, because each time the skull gets procced, and I'm not sure if it's like random or something like that, but your towers stop attacking, and you also cannot use the abilities for a certain amount of time. So you need to have these towers away from the boss and shoot from a distance, and that is how you can have 100% uptime on everything. But this thing, the mat, is just, it's crazy if you can afford it, and obviously we can afford it. It's not that expensive to buy, and it just destroys tier 2. So there we go, we sell it. I kept the elite sniper, sold the Minneapolis to afford the mat, and here we have the normal Monkeyopolis. Actually, I think it's a 7 farm Monkeyopolis, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but these things are, well, actually I do know why I'm doing this, but they don't do that much. It's because on level 13, these turrets, they get upgraded. So that's very important, because these when you place these turrets, actually they don't evolve with Geraldo, right? So if you place them as a weaker variant, they're just gonna keep being like that. And I also wanted to test this new Wall Street, and that's very interesting. And that's because if you guys don't know, well, I'm sure you guys know, it collects the bananas, so you don't need a farmer actually around it. So that's very cool. So we got the Wall Street. I got these 4 turrets, as I was saying. They don't cost anything, but at the same time they don't do that much. So I'm just kind of spending money, getting the sharpening stone on them, which isn't doing anything, getting the bunnies, which, again, if you guys don't know, you get all 4 of them, and you get a bunny paragon, as I call it. And yeah, that's basically what's happening. So the elite sniper is defending. I mean, we don't have anything to worry about at this point besides getting the farming going. So that's exactly what I'm doing at this point. I'm getting more farms and getting ready for the next one, even though it's around 77 and Vortex is very fast. So that's something that might kind of throw you guys off, and that is Vortex's speed. So Vortex needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. And even though he kind of moves back, he's I think he's the fastest. I'm not sure actually, is Lich faster? I'm pretty sure actually that Vortex is a little bit faster than Lich, but they're both very fast for sure. And so what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to beat tier 3 again with snipers only, and this is a no-go. So you're not supposed to be doing this, and I guarantee you guys that this is this is not the way to go. So I bought the axes of the snipers. I got the 205. I got a few 204s even, and I permabrewed them. I permabrewed these guys, so we have the damage amplifiers from the Cripple Moab. I'm gonna buy a Super Brill, and these things don't do anything to him. So they're at range, so they're positioned nicely, but they just don't do enough damage because this thing has like a 1.6 million HP. So, at this point, I'm realizing that this isn't going to work, so I'm placing the Apache Prime. I'm buying the Spectre, which is going to be a flying fortress in a second, and I'm also going to be buying Comanche Commanders. So those are obviously towers that you want to have outside of the range of the track. But then they can still attack, and they're going to be unaffected by these pulses and the skull activations, right? But the snipers aren't doing anything, so I guess the elite defender is a good strategy for tier 1, but then it's kind of useless afterwards. And you can still use the Cripple Moab to amplify the damage, but that's basically it. So now that we do this, now that we have the Flying Fortress, I also get the Mad down bottom. And see, this is where things get close. It's not that we don't have damage, but when Vortex is going to start, coming near our towers, look at what's going to happen. He's going to start, pulsing, and they're going to stop attacking. So that should happen right about now. There we go. So you can see the Darling is not attacking, and our abilities are kind of grayed out, so we cannot use abilities. Towers are not attacking, and this is exactly why we need to have all of our towers away from the boss, because this can cause a lot of problems. And actually, this is only tier 3, and you guys wait until you see what happened at tier 5. It was as close as it gets. So at this point, I'm just getting a 040 heli. I want to move the permabrew down bottom, I think. That's why I'm doing it. And so at this point, I'm realizing that, a tower that's going to work is actually the Buccaneer Paragon. And the reason why it's going to work is because of the flying planes, right? So I can have the Buccaneer Paragon away from the track, but the planes are still going to be flying and doing a lot of damage. And that makes a lot of sense. So I'm kind of getting ready for that one, right? So I'm buying these 024 Buccaneers that are going to be getting degrees by making money. I don't think they're going to be able to get any powers because we have all these flying things. So I thought this was the better way to go. And now, obviously, this is kind of the MVP for Geraldo. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with this. And actually, I think I'm going to do a video tomorrow on it. But for now, this is the Paragon Totem. So what this does is it gives 1.5k Paragon power for each totem. And you can just keep buying these. We can have a maximum of 2 in stock. So you need to keep buying these as soon as they become available. But basically, the next Paragon that you're going to buy is going to have a bigger degree because of them. And so what's going to happen here is I'm just going to I'm going to give them the pickle jar of all my towers. And because of all these totems, I was able to get a degree 35 Buccaneer Paragon. And this is just not even close. And the strategy worked, basically. So these flying planes are doing their job. We have our Permabrute trio at the bottom, which I don't think is doing that much at this point because we had them for tier 3 as well. And they didn't do that well. So I think this DPS is mostly coming from the Buccaneer Paragon. And so that's tier 4. Tier 4 wasn't even close, actually. And, on to tier 5 now. So tier 5 is going to be, as I mentioned, as close as it gets. So tier 5 needs some special kind of defense. I don't know how to defend tier 5, actually. I don't think we have... well, I kind of do know how to defend, and you can see here what I'm trying to do. We were kind of limited in this run because we don't have the engineer in this boss fight specifically. So we were missing the ultra boost. So there's no overclock, there's no ultra boost, which obviously would have been very useful to do. And kind of a note for this specific VTSG that you guys are going to be making is that we usually avoid the military category, but in this one I think you actually want to use the military category because the military one spawns these flying planes, and the planes attack from it's specters, right? And those guys attack from a distance, and that is a very good thing against this boss. It's something to keep in mind to sacrifice military actually to the temple. But basically, I'm just doing the VTSG, and I'm also buying these totems. Getting them ready and getting them off stock, so that he can replenish them, and we can place even more. And then when we get the next Paragon, we're going to be able to have a higher degree on it. So basically, this is what's happening. I'm just going to get the VTSG. Obviously, no overclock and no ultra boost. That's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. So we get the perma brew, we get these villages, we have the homeland defense, and that's basically what's happening for now. So I thought that a good Paragon to get would be the Ninja one, and I wanted to keep the distance from the Ninja one. The reason why I wanted to do the Ninja is because it throws the sticky bomb, right? And so because it throws the sticky bomb from a distance, I thought it was going to do well. It didn't do that well, I'm going to be honest, and this is the closest one that we've had. So I kind of miscalculated the money also, so I'm short. I'm a little bit short. I'm going to have to sell the Comanche Commanders. So getting the Paragon now, it's degree 23. Now, it was supposed to be degree 1, but it's 23 because of these totems from Geraldo, and this is basically what's happening. So, also kind of missing the 5th-tier sniper because, again, I miscalculated the money a little bit, so this was not supposed to be that close, but again, we won, so I guess it is what it is. And so I'm trying to use all of these Geraldo's things, like the glue to kind of slow the balloons down because they get really fast up until the point that they reach Vortex. And look at this thing. This is very interesting. So when he activates the shield, like now, all of the projectiles are bouncing off of him. It's like a wall. So it's very interesting. Until that shield, I'm not sure if the shield works as in if it has like a certain amount of HP or is time based or something like that, like Lich's invulnerability. But whatever it is, I'm just using the pickle jar. Pickle jar is amazing. You can use it on the VTSG, just dropping all the DPS that I can because it's getting kind of close. And then at this point, I kind of realize that I'm missing the glue, so I'm getting the 250 glue. And this is basically what's happening. So tier 3, and look at how close it gets. We have 3 skulls left, and he's kind of at like 60% of the map, and we're barely gonna beat him. And this is why, again, tower positioning matters, because when he's going to come to this bottom part where all of our towers are concentrated, they're not gonna be doing any damage. And look at this. So whenever he pulses, whenever he just passes through, the towers are not doing any damage. Look at the VTSG. Look at them. Look at the VTSG, the avatars, the Paragon. They're just not attacking at this point. That is just insane. So make sure to have your towers away from the track as much as possible and from the path that the boss takes. And that was tier 5 Elite Vortex. A very interesting boss and definitely very doable and very fun to play. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.